Welcome back to College Hill Farm. Well, today we're talking onions. Now, if you've had a problem and you only grow little onions, okay, you're probably growing onions from sets, okay, or you're growing an onion that's not for your area. An onion set is just a little ball of an onion, and you take it and you plant it in your garden, and then it grows an onion. Generally, the biggest they get is about 2 inches in diameter. We grow them for green onions, for eating the tops. That's what we grow onion sets for. Sets around here are about $2 a pound. A pound of sets will plant a 100-foot row. Okay? But the kind of onions, if you want to get those great big old onions, a couple years ago I got a couple of 2-pound onions, big things, but that don't happen every year. Most of the time my average onion is around 14 to 18 ounces, which is still a big onion. So how do you get those? Well, first off, you have to know where you live. I know it sounds crazy, don't it? You have to know where you live. Well, there are 3 types of onions. One called long day onions, one day called short day onions, and one onion called intermediate onions. So let's talk about those and where you should be raising them. Now, where I live almost on the 38th parallel. Okay, I live at 37.8 or something like that, 37.2 degrees north. The way that's calculated is like this. Here is the equator on the earth, okay? It comes up like this: 10, 15, 25, 45, 90, okay? The North Pole would be 90 degrees. Does that make sense? Now, I live at 37, almost 38 degrees up from the equator. So they call them latitude and longitude, okay? I don't remember which one is which, but it doesn't matter. You'll see one that says 38, the other will probably be 80 or something if you looked at your GPS. If you live in 37 or higher, then you want to plant long day onions, okay? If you live in 25 or lower, you want to plant short day onions. Does that make sense? I know, that don't seem like it makes sense, does it? Here's the deal. When you plant your onions, people in the south, the 25 and less, people in the deep south will plant their onions way, way early. Okay, or they'll plant them way late, and their onions, when the day shortens, they start to fill out. Okay, us from 37 up want to plant long day onions, because when you plant them now, our day is about 8 hours right now. It's about 8-9 hours long. But when it gets to 10 or 11, the onion starts putting on fat. Okay? Now, here's the deal. Here's an onion set. We'll pull one out here. Now, the layers of this onion, every leaf on here is a layer of onion. You want to plant these early enough. This is April the 1st. You want to plant these early enough that, and this is called an onion slip. Okay? You can grow these yourself. All right? You don't have to go buy them. I buy these in a package like this. This is enough to plant half of a 100-foot row, about 50 feet of onions. So I'd have to have 2 of these. These were $4.50 at our local Amish store. Tractor Supply had them for $6. Okay? But I'll explain why I went to the Amish store. It wasn't about $4. Anyhow, the onion, you want it to have enough time to build up as many layers as possible before it gets to where it's 10 hours of daylight. Once 10 hours to 12 hours of daylight gets here, the onion starts getting fatter. The more layers it has, the bigger it gets. Does that make sense? So you don't want to plant onions that are already a big bulb, they've got as many layers as they're ever going to have. You want to plant these like this, these slips. Now, this onion is an intermediate day onion. Now, you can plant intermediate day onions from about 26 degrees north all the way up to about 40 degrees north. Anything past 40 degrees, you got to plant long day onions or they don't make. This variety of this onion is called candy. It's a real sweet onion. And I want to see, you know, we're doing these plant beds, and onions are something you plant down on the ground. And I had a way of doing it where I could plant them, but weeding them and harvesting them was a big deal. Because if you don't keep the weeds out, you don't get big onions. That's just the way it goes. So I have to sometimes get down on my hands and knees to weed my onions, and that's getting where it's not good for me. Now, Crystal and I right now have about 18 gallons of onions still in the freezer, okay? And about, I don't know, 9 gallons of green onions still in the freezer. So we're good on onions. Well, I don't even have to grow them this year, but I'd like to have some for tomatoes, or for our tomato sandwiches and for hamburgers and for our hot dogs, because I like fresh onions for those. So that's what I'm growing these for. Also, I want to see how many of those can I put in that tote and have them make. And that's what I'm going to give a shot to. I want to know how many of those I can put in that tote and have them make. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to plant onions in a tote, and you can come along for the ride. Stupid blackberry brawers. That's the thing about our homestead. If you don't stay after it, the blackberry brawers grow up into everything. Now I'll let this run in real time so that you can see the effort involved. You know, if I run everything at elevated speed, you never get the knowledge of the effort involved. Because I'm just going to tell you, if you're thinking about doing a homestead of your own, effort is a big part of it. Okay, this guy's all turned. Now let's put the rake to it and level it out a little. Grass out. Now, like the other beds, I'm going to put compost down here. Okay, it takes 2 bags of compost, $5. How many onions do you have to get to equal $5 at the store? But before I put the compost in, onions are heavy feeders. Okay? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread granule fertilizer all around this bed. Now this is a slow release fertilizer, so it'll release as the year goes on. That's all I'm going to use. That's less than a pound. Oh. Now let's get some compost on. The compost will add fertilization too. But the amount of fertilizer I put on there is equal to 10 bags of compost. Or 20. Okay, that's a big enough hole. There we go, pretty level. When the rain comes, it'll level it all out. Okay, let's put some onions in. Okay, here's my onions. Now, I don't know if south side, north side, whatever, is dependent here, but I'm just going to take these and start putting them in about every 6 inches. I'm going to scoot over here 6 inches. Put another one. And you might ask, should I plant the big ones? The truth is, the ones about the size of a pencil generally make the biggest onions. Pull a bunch out. Move over here. Go away, blackberry brower. I got to get over in here and get rid of them. Okay, 50. That'll work. Okay, I got 51 onions in the bed. So if every one of those onions makes an 8-ounce onion, I've got 25 pounds worth of onions right there in the bed. 3 pounds of onions, our local grocery store is $3.99. Okay, so yeah, that's going to save me money. But you got to remember, I got fertilizer in there and I got other stuff, so yeah, it may not save me as much as you'd think. But that brings me to the part about why I went over to the Amish store. Schroeder's is a small family-owned business, and all they do is farm supply. It's an Amish-run business. No lights, no lights. They've got a little sign down at the road that says Schroeder's Home Supply or Schroeder's Garden Supply. They're on Highway 39 between Lancaster and what's the Crab Orchard? Between Lancaster and Crab Orchard. I guess their actual address is Preachersville. They're just on the Crab Orchard side of Preachersville. So why do I go there? Well, if you don't support your local businesses, you don't have local businesses. They go out of business. I used to go to a little place here in Berea, here in Paint Lick, called Jennings, and bought my gardening supplies. Well, they're a local company, and I spent my money with them. I went to them before I went to Lowe's or Menards or any of the other, but the big box stores have just put them out of business. I hate that. I love to see our little local businesses thrive, but if they can't compete, they can't compete. If you want to keep local, you got to shop local. Now, these onions should do good. They'll do better as the rain comes. Now, we've got supposed to get between 5 and 8 inches of rain. This is Tuesday. It's actually April the 1st. Happy April Fool's Day. We're supposed to get between 5 and 8 inches of rain over the weekend. And that's flood level rain. Some places in Kentucky could get as much as 12 inches. So keep Kentucky in your prayers when you pray. It's just going to be a tough weekend. Now, I want to plant my potatoes, but there's some things going on that I don't know if I'm going to get my potatoes planted. It rained such a big rain yesterday that my garden is just too wet. I wanted to plant potatoes today or tomorrow, but it rained such a big rain, the garden's just a big mud hole. And if I plant my potatoes in that, with it wet, that ground will pack down solid as a rock and you just won't get no potatoes. So I'm going to try and do it another time, but we've got rain. Tomorrow's Wednesday, and I'm going to come out and probably plant my tomato bed tomorrow. But we've got some other irons in the fire, and if you follow the channel, you know what those are. We're coming up on a surgery, so it's going to be I don't know if I'll get to even plant potatoes this year, but I will give what's left over of the onions that I have. I'll give them to my neighbor. They co-garden with me on the hill garden, and they can plant those onions for them, and I'll give them my potato seed if I can't get to plant potatoes. But it may be middle of or 1st of May rather before I get to plant them. Well, that'll be okay. They'll do all right planted in the 1st of May. So I wouldn't want to plant them much later than May, but that's just what it is. So now, if you like this stuff, this homesteading, do-it-yourself kind of thing, be certain to come on out to the channel and subscribe. We do this homestead stuff all the time, sometimes 1, sometimes 5 videos. Just depends on what's going on in the homestead that week. Now, if you hit the little bell, it'll be right up here. It'll notify you when we upload a video. We upload on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, with the occasional short through the week and on Saturday. So now, it's time for me to get on to the next thing. I love y'all.